Okay then YouTube, as I said, let's put these charging points or install these charging points. So I'm going to firstly start with taking off the rear seat cowl. This will help me get to the battery underneath the rider's seat, and I'll be able to install the Optimate connector under here as well at the same time. So let me just quickly take this off and we'll go from there. Okay, so that's the 4 bolts out. So this should now slide backwards to get to the 2 bolts for the rider's seat. Okay, so let me take the rider's seat off quickly. That's a 10mm bolt that are holding the rider's seat. So you need a 10mm socket. Make sure you're keeping all these bolts in a safe place. You don't want to be losing any of the washers or anything like that. Okay, so it should now lift off as well. Perfect. Okay, so we've now got access to the back of the bike. Here's the accessory cable that I was talking about earlier in my video, and then we've got the connectors, or the 2 connectors for the battery to be able to run the USB adapter charging point up to the front of the bike, which is going to go through behind this side cowl all the way along the top here, and I'm going to fix it potentially here with some Velcro later on. Okay, so let me just pick up the Optimate adapter. I'm going to put it at the back of the bike. Okay, so here it is. As I said, it just plugs straight in. Make sure you've got it the right way around. And on it goes. As you can see, it's already draining. It's already got power from the battery. As you can see, there's a blue light on already here. So what I need to do is try and keep it close down to the bottom of the bike as possible, or to the under the rider's seat as much as possible. Let me just take that out there. So I'm going to keep it. I want to try and keep it about there if possible, if not a little bit lower, because what you'll see when you've got the actual cable, connected, you'll need room to manoeuvre it round there. So let me just plug that in. Okay, so I've got the cable connected now, so I'm going to keep it as far back as possible. I'll then run the cable around the back of the bike into here for the charging point of the battery pack. In fact, let me just get the battery pack and then we can have a look, see what it will look like eventually when it's finished. So once I finish the install, the battery pack will sit here under the seat with a charging point back here, and then I'll feed round underneath the cowl. And obviously you'll get to see that a little bit better once I've got the back of the bike back together and fitted the battery pack back in again. But again, I need that to kind of sit as low down as I can to be able to fit everything in. Alright, so what I'll do now is I'll show you how to remove this side piece of the bike, and then I can run the cable up for the front charging point. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to undo this bolt here. There's one at the front here as well. So we need to get those removed. So let me do that. Okay, so I've removed those two bolts. What you'll notice is if you pull back on this, it's fixed here, it's fixed up here. Now this fixing here is one of those really strong Velcro pads, so you just need to pull quite hard. And then you've got a couple of lugs, plastic lugs here and here, and then it will just hook off this centre part once you've got around to the top. So what I tend to do is I'll put my hand down the back to close to the Velcro and just pop it off. There you go. And as I said, you've got, I don't know if you'll see it down, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but you've got a lug here, so that just slides forwards and off. And then there's another one that you need to work on, which is up here, around about here on the side. Again, that's just a plastic lug that goes through, so you just need to pull it out. So that's off, and it just comes off at the top here. So what I'll do is I'll just put this safe down in the garage so it doesn't get scratched. Okay, so now that's off, you get access to the side of the tank and the air box, and I'll be able to feed this from the battery to the front of the bike. So just unravel the cable. Okay, so the cables will sit by the battery. What I'm going to do actually is there's a, I don't know if you can see that where the camera is now, but you've got this bar here where the front seat sits on. What I'm going to do is I'll feed the cables underneath so they don't get caught, and then underneath this bracket, and then somehow feed it all the way up through here, and then come out. Try and feed it through here. So maybe I'll start feeding from here, because I want it to come out the front and then up. So let's see what we can do up the front here. Right, so as I said, I want to kind of attach this as close to the front of the bike as I can with a bit of Velcro. So eventually it will just sit on the bike like that. And then I'll have my tank bag behind, and then the USB cables will feed into my tank bag. Okay. So if we pick up this cable, I'm going to feed it under here as much as I can. I don't really want it obviously to be on show, so if I go over the top of this connector and then under, as I said, I'm going to feed it under here as well. So I'll quickly do that as well so we can see. Okay, so this is roughly how it will sit on the bike, and then we'll go through, as I said, connect it up to the battery later and go from there. But what I'll try and do now is get the side panel back on and secure, and then we can worry about the battery bit in a minute. So let me go grab the side panel again. Okay, so when you're putting this back on, you need to start at the front of the bike and work backwards. What I would suggest is this lug here, or these two lugs. I would put some sort of lubricant on them just to help them back into their rubber housings. As we know, it's quite difficult to push dry rubber against dry rubber. So I'm just going to go quickly put some lubricant on this side panel. Okay, so let me see if I can angle the camera so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so as I said, you need to hook on the front first. It should just clip in. And you need to find the first rubber mount, which is up the top there. You can see it clearly on the camera. You need to locate that one, which I'll now do. And then just give it a quick push. It should push in. You'll then see that there's a second one about where my finger is, but further down to about here. You need to push that on, but at the same time you've got this mount here you need to slide this onto. So be careful when you're doing that you don't break anything. But also make sure that you've got the charging cable where you want it before you start doing all of that, else you'll have problems later. Just push that in. Let's slide on. Right. We just need to attach the Velcro back again. So just give it a good push. There you go. Okay, so you've got the side panel back on, hooked up on the top here, pushed on here, and then there's another one, as I said, down here, and then you've got the Velcro. So the next job is would be to secure the side panel back with the 2 bolts, but I'll do that in a bit. Now the next thing that we need to do is we'll need to remove the screws out, or the bolts out of the battery, and hook up the connectors. So they are just, you can use a crosshead screwdriver if you want to undo that. Now what I'll do is I prefer to do the live one first whilst it's still grounded, and then I'll put on the charging point to the live. Okay, so that's it connected up. What I will do quickly is I'm going to unplug this from the back, and I'm going to plug it into the front. Just double check that it is actually working. Okay, so as it's connected up here to the battery now, I've just plugged in my power pack on here just to see if it's working, and if you're able to see that there's blue lights flashing there, look. So it is charging and it's working, which is perfect news. So again, I'll just unplug this just so it's not obviously draining too much power from the battery at the moment. What I need to do now is to figure out what to do with this excess cable, but what I'll probably end up doing is just shoving it down the front here of the battery for the time being, like that. So I'm going to put that. So what I'm going to do now is I'll put the 2 bolts back into the side panel here, so that's all secured up, and then we'll start on the back here and sort this piece out. So stay with me. Okay, so I've now got the Now got the bolts back in here, side panel's now secure. We've got the front one now connected to the battery, so that's perfect. So what I now need to do is just work on the back here. So what I'm going to actually do is, if I hook it up to the accessory cable, which is here, I'll just hook these in. As I said, just pushes in, clicks on, clicks in place like that. I'm now going to quickly put the rider seat back on. I'll put the case back on, or the cover back around the pillion seat, and then we can work out where this needs to go to be able to fit everything in the back here under the seat. Perfect like that. And then you've got your full bolts. You've got the full bolts, so we'll go in here afterwards. But just for the moment, I'm just going to see how this all fits together. So let me see what I can do here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we've got, as you can see, the battery pack fits in there quite nicely and snug. What I need to do now is figure out a way of getting this cable from the connector round to the charging point that's under here. So it should be fairly straightforward. So if I just put the connector in, there's that. Take it to the back of the bike, just plug in the USB. This has a nice feature where as soon as you've used one of the Optimate USB cables, it secures it quite nicely and makes it all waterproof. Right, so it's all plugged in. Let's see if we can get that in there. Perfect, first time. So I don't know if you can see the blue lights are flashing on here. So it's charging, it's getting power. That will now sit underneath here quite nicely. What I'll do is I'll quickly just put in these 4 bolts, and then I'll put the seat on so you can then see that it will sit under there quite nicely. Okay, so that's the 4 bolts in. What I might do is look at trying to put some sort of, maybe a cover just over the top of that solar panel, just so it doesn't scratch or get damaged. But what we'll do is, if we look at putting a seat cowl on, it should now just slide over and click into place. There you go. So that's my 2 charging points now fitted. As I said, we've got the one at the front here. What I'm going to do is I need to get some Velcro and fit that there. But also at the same time, with this weather the way it is, I might actually fit it like that, so it's pointing towards the back of the bike. But with the weather the way it is and how cold it is, I'm not going to be able to get anything to stick to these surfaces. They're too cold, so what I'll have to do is either wait for warmer weather or use a hairdryer or something just to warm this up and get the Velcro to stick. But as you can see, that's how I'm going to place the power on the bike, ready for the TT and for the rest of the time throughout 2017 when I need power on the bike. So once again, thank you for joining me. Please hit that subscribe button to view the rest of my videos and support me. Thank you very much. Goodbye.